Hey everyone, great job so far on your ecosystems in a bottle challenge. They're looking great. We're going to jump in really quickly to these notes because there are a lot of notes today. We haven't done them for a while. So Ecosystems Bio 1.1, grab out your doodle notes and let's get started. All right, ecosystems and biomes. We're going to cover quickly the keyword definitions and then label some biomes around the earth. So niche or niche is how an organism fits in and its role in community. Like, what is your role within your family? The habitat would be their physical space or the home of the organism, like your room at home. An ecosystem would include the community of organisms interacting in their specific physical space. So kind of like your family, all the living and non-living things in your house, right? And then the biome is the area of the planet in which it is, and it's characterized by organisms and the climate. And I'm going to apologize for my voice. I'm kind of losing it. It's late at night when I'm doing this. Draw arrows and label some of the different biomes on this globe. We have the tundra up here in the north in Greenland. We have the taiga. We have the temperate forest. We have the desert. We have the savanna. We have the tropical rainforest, and then the temperate grassland. Okay, so quickly, some of the main features of each biome we'll just summarize quickly. And then if you want to add pictures to these last three biomes, you can please do that. You don't have to, but you can. The tundra is cold and dry with frozen ground and low tree growth, probably because of the frozen ground, right? The taiga or boreal forest is cold with snow most of the year. The animals must be well adapted to live here, and it's full of coniferous trees. Then we have the temperate forest, which has 4 seasons with lots of rain. Animals either hibernate or migrate, and it's full of deciduous trees. Temperate grassland is prairies, is where the prairies or the steppes are. This is hot and cold seasons. They have a hot and cold season. There are very few trees, but lots of grasses. Then we have the tropical grassland, which is also called the savanna. It's got a wet or a dry season. Very warm there, and it's full of grazers and few trees. We have the tropical rainforest, which is warm all year with heavy rainfall and huge biodiversity. And then we have the desert, which is very dry, extreme temperatures, and few animals survive here. So which biome do you live in? Go ahead and fill that out for yourself. All right, biodiversity. We've talked a little bit about this already, but what is biodiversity? It's a variety of living organisms in an area. It can be local or global, and it can go from community all the way to the earth. Why is biodiversity so important in an ecosystem? Because it makes the ecosystems more resilient and less likely to collapse. There are lots of medicinal advantages because of the plant extracts. It also helps predict how species loss will impact entire ecosystems. So over here, show the trend of how biodiversity varies by using different shades to color in the map. But make sure you have a key. So high biodiversity to middle high biodiversity to very low biodiversity. So remember, biodiversity decreases with distance from the equator. And if you've ever been to Costa Rica, a place that's close to the equator, you know why. They have the best conditions. It's warm and wet there. There's rapid growth in all kinds of animals and plants. And it's harder for other ecosystems survive the farther away you get from that ecosystem. Types of species come in foundational, keystone, and invasive species. Foundational are unique and have an essential role in their community. An example would be corals grow in large groups to form reefs to create a unique habitat for other organisms like fish and creatures to live in. Keystone species have a disproportionately large effect on their community. For example, if you removed a single beaver colony, it can devastate a community because of all the dam building that they do that help other species. Then you have invasive species that can be introduced to areas outside their native range. These can cause harm or already have caused harm. It can cause displacement of native species, sorry about that, and it can damage the area. So we've talked a lot about this already, but let's write it down. Biotic and abiotic factors. Biotic factors are the living factors in an ecosystem. I want you to find all the biotic factors that you can in the picture and point them out with a red arrow, and then bullet point some of them in the space here. Abiotic are the factors that are non-living factors in an ecosystem. And so I want you to find all the abiotic factors that you can in the picture and point them out with a blue arrow, and then list some of them in a bullet here. And then answer this question: are dead organisms biotic or abiotic, and why? Levels of ecological organization, you can draw pictures or not. That's totally up to you. Maybe you can just list what it might be. There are different levels of organization in ecology. We're going to name and describe each. So an organism is just a single living thing. It's one type of species. And can you give an example here besides a deer? A population is a group of organisms of the same species in the same area and also are there at the same time. And then we go on to community. Community is all populations in the same area, and it includes biotic factors. They are biotic, is what I'm trying to say. Then it goes to ecosystem, which is all biotic and all abiotic in the same area, working together. Then finally, the biosphere is all parts of the earth, living organisms, and it includes all ecosystems. A population growth is very important to learn about. So why are populations, or what are they, and why do we track them? Well, if you remember, groups of individuals from the same species in the same area and time are populations. And these are, when we monitor these changes to population growth, it helps us predict changes in the future. It also informs conservation efforts to save species so they don't go extinct. How can we measure populations? Well, we have population size, which is just the total number of individuals in a population. And this is important to know the total because the larger populations are going to be more resilient. And we want to know the smaller ones so we can help them to become more resilient. In 2022, there were less than 70 Javan, I'm not sure if I'm saying that, Javan rhinos left in the world. That is crazy low. Then we have population density, which is the number of individuals in a defined area. It's how closely packed these individuals are. And high density would allow for easy mating, but it also allows diseases to spread more easily. So if you'll just draw a little picture of low population density and then high population density, that would be great. And you could just do it with dots or X's or something simple. Population dispersion patterns, then, is a distribution or dispersion of individuals of a population. What they do is give us information about species behavior and then how the resources are actually affecting them. So if you can draw shapes to show each population dispersal pattern, we have three. We have clumped, where they're in clumps, like animals that live in family units, insects that live in plants, like otters and lions. We have a uniform dispersal pattern, which is territorial animals, plants that compete for access to water, like the saguaro cacti. So these would be what am I trying to say? Uniform, like you would have a uniform pattern here. And then there's random patterns, which would be plants that use wild dispersal and solitary animals that are non-territorial, like dandelions. And there's no rhyme or reason, it's just random. Okay, so types of population growth curves. I want you to label and describe each one. We have exponential, where you have a lag period and then exponential growth afterwards that just goes up, up, up. This is with unlimited resources. It has the initial lag period. Then they start to grow and reproduce and the rate increases. And this would be like human growth rate. The human population growth actually happened after the Industrial Revolution. There was rapid growth, but the better life quality. We had a better quality of life. This will not last forever because birth rates are actually lowering because of education. Birth rates are going down. So it will, according to what statistics say, will eventually stabilize, as it shows here in the predictions for the future. Now, logistic is to have a lag period and then come up quickly and then reach the carrying capacity and level out. This would be the population size is limited by resources, is when the population size is limited by resources and space. Okay, so a mouse population growth curve, if you will dot to dot these dots here and then just label the carrying capacity and write the number that the carrying capacity is, which is 19. After that, pause this and answer the questions based on what you just learned. Okay, finally, our limiting factors. We have two very important ones: density independent limiting factors or density dependent limiting factors. Density independent are usually abiotic factors. Density of the population is not a factor in this. It doesn't matter how much there are. They're going to be all hit equally. These are things like natural disasters, severe weather, pollution. Then we have density dependent, which is usually biotic, and it depends on the density of a population. So how closely packed the population is. This would be affected by predation, by diseases and parasites that would spread easily, and then by competition for resources. So look at the predator-prey cycles here. We have the Canadian lynx and the snowshoe hare are well-studied examples of predator-prey cycle. So if you look at what this graph is doing, as one goes up, so does the other one. The other one responds to the one. So in this case, the prey increases due to fewer predators. So this is our prey. It increases, and then the predators actually increase also due to high prey food. And then over here we have the prey, which is decreasing due to predators hunting them. And so then the predators decrease due to fewer prey. And the cycle repeats again and again. And in between here, we have a lag period, which in between increasing in prey and increasing in predators. It takes time for growth and reproduction. The types of competition, which is kind of an important part if there is competition, would be intra-specific, which is between members of the same species and the same niche, or you have inter-specific, which is between species or members of different species. So kind of think international, maybe it's in between members of different species, where intra is the same species. Finally, please fill out the survivorship curves. This is a graph that shows the likelihood of each species at each age. And so we have three specific ones. We have ones that would be represented like with the human race or mammals, which they have a high birth rate or high maximum life expectancy. They live long lives because they care for their young. And then as they get old, they start to die off. Now, then we have the second one that starts really high. And this would be like mosquitoes, or I'm trying to think of some other ones, fishes, invertebrates, things like that. They have a high birth rate, but many of them die right in the beginning very quickly, and few live to survive a long life. And then we have type 2, that is, for example, like birds or mice, that just have kind of a constant mortality. They are born and then they just die off gradually over the lifespan of 100 years. So which one would be the most deaths at a young age, or the most deaths at an old age, or roughly equal deaths at all ages? I hope this made a lot of sense to you and helped to explain the things we've been learning.